My name is Cindy DeChano. I represent the Warren County Historical Society. The Historical Society has been around for a long time. It was first talked about in 1895 after the centennial celebration, and then 5 years later in 1900 it was established. And we have the headquarters, which is in a Victorian home next to the courthouse, and we also have the Wilder Museum, which is a school in Irvine. We're the repository for thousands and thousands of documents, artifacts, framed images, some really interesting things that a lot of people don't know about, and we're always discovering more things that we get excited about. The late 1800s in Warren was really the heyday. Lumber was king, so there was a lot of wealth in Warren at that time, and that's when a lot of the old Victorian homes were built. And of course, it was on the Allegheny River, so that was the highway. A lot of the transportation was done on the river. Two of our pioneers were Daniel Jackson and Archibald Tanner. Daniel Jackson actually settled first on what is now called Jackson Run. He built a sawmill there, and then he also moved into town and had the first liquor license in Warren on the corner of Hickory and Pennsylvania Avenue. Archibald Tanner, around the same time, convinced Daniel Jackson to give him a corner of his tavern so he could set up a mercantile store. So he was like the first merchant in town.
The house was first constructed around 1850 by a gentleman named E.T.F. Valentine. He was our town burgess at the time.
Dave Winans is our go-to person for Warren County architecture. He was really instrumental in getting Warren designated as a historical district, and that was in 1999.
So when the roof was put on, large shingles were put on the bottom of the roof, and very small shingles were put on the top, which creates an optical illusion, making the house appear taller than it actually is.
Warren has played a big part in the equality of rights movement. We know that Elizabeth Cady Stanton in 1871 gave a lecture in Warren. We know that in Sugar Grove there were homes and passages that were part of the Underground Railroad. I do get excited about it. When I do genealogy research, sometimes I can find like the mother lode of information, and it's so exciting because you think, wow, these people lived here and they spent their whole lives and they did these wonderful things. I'm not a native of Warren. I came in 1968, and my husband was just out of the service, and we sort of drove through Warren, and I said, I could live here. I think it has a quality to it, sort of a sereneness, and my children grew up here. I think they realized that they were brought up in a really nice setting, and we have the hills and the woods and the river, and there's just so much to offer in Warren.